What is culture? Well, it's kind of the way we live, isn't it? And, what makes up this way we live? What are the components of it? Well, certainly family, wherever you are now. If you don't have a family, and that's not, hopefully that's not the case, but there are people that do not have families. They may grow up in an orphanage. They may grow up on the streets. Unfortunately, in this country, and I've seen this, I saw it in Iran when I was working there. There are kids that have been abandoned by their families and just set adrift. In Gary, Indiana, when I was living in Indiana, I was working with a part of the city where kids were living in cars, and they managed to survive very cleverly, and not the best. But that's all part of that culture and that particular town, because that's the way the kids are. And if you look around the world, you find this true everywhere. When I was in Tehran, this is the first time I ever got introduced to something like this. It was 1975, and we saw a situation where there were some young people, and the way they were looking for work in the community there, and they were building some buildings, and they got jobs there. Well, it turned out the parents drove them into town, said, "We can't support you anymore. Goodbye, we'll see you," and drove away. And they just left them there, and the kids had to survive on their own. So there's family, and there's people not in family, but hopefully that's a small percentage. Community is important. What goes on around you? Your town, your neighborhood, and America being as multicultural as it is, if you go into some American cities, and it's really kind of neat, really, there'll be the Italian village, there'll be the Slavic village, the Jewish people will be off in another corner. And the ethnic groups, particularly the first people to come into this country, tend to form their own ghettos, places where they feel comfortable because they're around their own, living with their own sense of values that they brought over from the old country. So it's important we know that. Now, I want to say something here, and I'll repeat this time and time again. If you're going to be effective in this area of dealing with energy or with technology and culture and ethics, we have to be respectful. It's interesting. Everybody does something different. And one of the things I learned in working in different countries around the world, which I have had the fortune of doing, is that I don't care whether you're living in some village in a hut or you're living in a mansion and you have all kinds of servants. The fact of the matter is, you sleep, you eat, you get up, you do something, you grow up, and you try to get along as best you can to take care of yourself and those you love, and you die. Well, it turns out that we all live differently, but we all go through about the same processes, and we all live different lengths of time. But there's nothing that you should say that's super special about us when you're dealing with people from other cultures. Because you must respect them, because the key is going to be this. If you respect each other, even though you think, hey, I don't want to live that way, but if you do, that's fine. Let's sit down and talk. If you respect each other, then if you come to a problem area, the chances of coming to some kind of consensus as to how you're going to solve it, and isn't this going to be important in the action part of this, then chances are you'll have some success. But if you discount somebody as being ridiculous or stupid or whatever, that isn't going to work. We in America, we eat differently than people in England do. Frankly, I like the way the English do it because, to me, I get the food faster to my mouth. But we have a knife, fork, and spoon. We'll take the fork, we'll cut the meat, we'll change the fork, put it in our right hand, put it in our mouth. The British, they hang on to the fork, They cut the meat and put it right in their mouth. And, of course, in the Orient, they use chopsticks to eat with. So, but we all eat, we all get fed, and we all enjoy the food. So, pay attention to what's going on and have respect and understand what's going on in other cultures if this technology is interfering with more or interfacing with more than just yours. Work, what goes on at work, corporations can be another subculture unto themselves. What's fascinating is how it compartmentalizes our life. The ethic that the corporation operates under is not necessarily the sum of the ethics of the people that work there. The ethic that the corporation operates under is going to be, let's say, free private enterprise, which means maximize my profit, maximize my capital worth, take care of my stockholders if I have them, bottom line. Well, in the process, you may be hurting people, discounting people. You deliberately go out and get the cheapest labor you can. Whatever the case may be, you want to maximize productivity. You get a bunch of robots, and a lot of people get laid off, and you don't care whether they get trained for new work or not. That's their job. Bye-bye. See you. You have a competitor, and you try to hang them out to dry so you can pick up their capital worth at 10 cents on the dollar. I mean, it's totally different than how you would treat your neighbor. But that's because in that culture, that's okay. And when you're at home, you don't dare do that. Well, some do anyway, but you shouldn't. How do you spend your leisure? That makes up your culture, too. And can you think of anything else? And I'm sure you can. So the point here is, when you're thinking culture, look at, well, what is our family thinking? How does that affect me and my beliefs? And what goes on in the community? And how is there a contrast between what I think is right and wrong versus where I work or how I, enjoy my leisure? If I enjoy leisure that involves the trafficking of humans, which outside of drugs is the next most profitable business in this world today, is that right? Should you be doing that? Ask yourself that question.